A self-educated mind is an unstoppable force, respected audience, brothers and sisters. Today, we gather to talk about a power so great, yet so often overlooked, the power of a self-educated mind. In a world that constantly evolves, formal education alone is no longer enough. The ones who truly rise, who break barriers, who transform their lives and inspire others, are those who choose to educate themselves beyond what is given to them. They read, they research, they ask questions, they reflect, and most importantly, they take responsibility for their own growth. A self-educated mind is not confined to a classroom or limited by certificates. It doesn't wait for someone to hand over the tools of success. It carves them out, day by day, lesson by lesson. And once that mindset is awakened, it becomes an unstoppable force. No obstacle too strong, no failure too final, and no limitation permanent. From the prophets of Islam who received divine revelation and then sought to understand and teach it with wisdom, to the scholars, inventors, and visionaries of our past and present, self-education has always been the mark of the truly great. Allah commands us in the Quran to reading, not just as a ritual, but as a lifestyle. Because a mind that is constantly seeking knowledge is a soul that never stops growing. Self-education ignites lifelong curiosity and passion for learning. The journey of self-education begins not in a classroom, but in the heart and mind of a person who dares to ask, "What more can I understand?" It is driven by a deep internal curiosity that refuses to accept surface-level answers and instead seeks meaning, depth, and clarity in every aspect of life. A self-educated mind does not simply consume information. It explores it, questions it, challenges it, and internalizes it. This process creates a transformation that no external force can impose and no institution can replicate. The passion to learn is no longer dependent on teachers, schools, or schedules. It becomes a part of a person's identity. They wake up with a hunger to grow and go to sleep with questions still forming in their minds. They find joy in solving problems, analyzing new concepts, making connections across different disciplines, and uncovering truths they never thought to search for before. This kind of passion fuels a lifelong commitment to growth. It turns even the most mundane moments into opportunities for reflection and learning. A person with a self-educated mindset might be walking down the street and suddenly wonder how city infrastructure works, prompting them to read about civil engineering. They might hear a word in a conversation and then spend the next week diving into the origins and evolution of language. They might encounter a personal struggle and seek to understand emotional intelligence, psychology, or Islamic spirituality, all to better manage their inner world. For them, knowledge is not just information. It is a lifeline, a tool, a source of comfort, power, and understanding. Learning becomes a lifestyle, not a phase. Their bookshelf becomes a mirror of their thoughts. Their journal becomes a reflection of their inner dialogue. Their dua, supplication, starts including pleas for increased knowledge as Allah commands in the Quran, and say, "My Lord, increase me in knowledge." Surah Taha 2114. This thirst for learning does not limit itself to worldly sciences. In fact, a truly self-educated mind often turns naturally towards spiritual and moral education as well. The more one learns about the creation, the more one is led to ponder the Creator. The Quran itself is filled with verses that urge reflection, inquiry, and deep thinking. Do they not reflect upon the Quran? Surah Muhammad 47:24. The command to Ifa. In the very first revelation to the Prophet Muhammad, it was not just an instruction to recite. It was an invitation to think, to engage, to explore. This divine emphasis on knowledge ignites a sacred curiosity in the hearts of those who seek self-education with sincerity. They begin to ask, what is the wisdom behind Allah's commands? Or what can I learn from the lives of the prophets? Or how can I use my talents to benefit the Ummah community? This level of curiosity elevates them spiritually, emotionally, and intellectually. Furthermore, this lifelong curiosity builds resilience. A self-educated person doesn't get discouraged when they don't know something. They get excited. The unknown is not intimidating to them. It is an invitation to grow. They are not afraid to be wrong because every mistake becomes a stepping stone to understanding. They are not afraid of change because they are already in a constant state of personal evolution. Their identity is not tied to how much they already know, but to how much they are willing to learn. This makes them humble, grounded, and open-minded, traits that protect them from arrogance and stagnation. They learn from anyone, a child, a scholar, a stranger, or even from their own failures. Their passion for learning crosses the barriers of age, culture, and background. They do not look down on others, nor do they look up with envy. They are too busy growing. In today's world, where distractions are everywhere and shallow information is abundant, cultivating deep curiosity is a rare and precious trait. But the self-educated mind thrives in such environments because it does not settle for superficial content. While others scroll endlessly through social media, consuming random noise, the self-educated person is seeking out value. They are reading books, listening to thought-provoking lectures, diving into the Quran with tafsir exegesis, analyzing world events with a critical mind, and applying what they learn to improve their character and service to others. They turn their free time into opportunities for enrichment. Every new piece of knowledge is not just stored, it is used to shape a better self. This is why a self-educated mind becomes unstoppable. Not because it knows everything, but because it is always seeking. It never grows tired of discovery. It never becomes content with ignorance. It doesn't rely on external validation. It fuels itself with intention, discipline, and a love for learning. And once a person commits to that mindset, the potential for growth is limitless. Whether it's becoming a better parent, a more effective leader, a more sincere worshiper, or a more responsible citizen, self-education makes it possible. The moment you realize that you don't have to wait for anyone to teach you, that you can seek, explore, ask, and grow on your own, is the moment your life begins to change. That is when you become truly free. That is when you become truly powerful. And that is why a self-educated mind is not just strong, it is without question an unstoppable force. It builds independence and critical thinking. One of the most transformative outcomes of self-education is the development of independence and critical thinking. Two traits that elevate a person from being a passive receiver of information to an active seeker of truth. In a world that constantly throws opinions, biases, misinformation, and distractions at us, the ability to think critically is not just beneficial, it's essential. A self-educated mind does not accept information blindly. It learns how to evaluate sources, question assumptions, analyze perspectives, and form conclusions based on evidence and reason. Instead of copying what others say or think, the self-learner investigates deeply and forms their own understanding. This intellectual independence strengthens the individual, making them less vulnerable to manipulation, peer pressure, or societal conditioning. They do not blindly follow trends or adopt popular opinions without examining their validity. They think for themselves, and that makes them powerful. When someone relies solely on formal education, they often become dependent on teachers, structured curriculums, and pre-digested material. While formal education has its benefits, it rarely teaches students how to think. It usually teaches them what to think. But a self-educated person is not content with memorization. They want to know why things work the way they do. They challenge contradictions, uncover hidden truths, and refuse to be boxed into narrow modes of thinking. Their mind becomes trained to spot flaws in arguments, to notice logical fallacies, and to dig deeper than the surface. They don't just learn facts, they learn frameworks. They build the habit of asking, is this really true? Who said it? What's the evidence? What's the other side? How does this align with my faith, values, or principles? These questions are not signs of rebellion. They are signs of responsibility. And such critical thinking is what keeps a person grounded in truth, especially in a time of mass deception. In Islam, critical thinking and independent reasoning, or ijtihad, have always played a major role. The Quran frequently encourages reflection and questioning. Allah says in Surah Al-Zumar 39:9, "Say, are those who know equal to those who do not know?" This rhetorical question pushes the believer to seek knowledge and use intellect wisely. When we look at the lives of scholars like Imam Abu Hanifa, Imam Malik, Imam Shafi, and Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal, we see not only deep knowledge but also strong reasoning and independent analysis. They didn't just follow, they questioned, compared, studied, and arrived at sound conclusions. Their legacy continues because they trained themselves to think, not just to imitate. A self-educated person today follows the same path, developing the courage and clarity to think independently while remaining respectful, authentic knowledge. This independence also empowers people to take charge of their lives. When someone develops a self-educated mind, they no longer wait for permission to grow. They stop depending on others to tell them what to do or how to do it. They research, experiment, reflect, and act with confidence. If they want to improve their health, they don't wait for a doctor to motivate them. They study nutrition, movement, and habits on their own. If they want to learn a skill, they find books, courses, or mentors, even without a classroom. If they are confused about a religious issue, they look into Quran, Hadith, scholarly opinion, and make informed decisions with sincerity. This level of autonomy makes them more capable, more self-reliant, and more resilient in the face of challenges. And with independence comes responsibility. A self-educated person doesn't just learn for their own benefit. They become a source of guidance and clarity for others. Their ability to analyze complex issues, ask the right questions, and explain things clearly allows them to lead, teach, and inspire. In families, communities, and workplaces, they often become the go-to people for wisdom and direction. Not because they have all the answers, but because they've trained their minds to seek truth sincerely and speak with clarity. This combination of humility and insight is rare, and it is one of the greatest strengths of a self-educated individual. The ability to think critically and act independently is one of the most empowering gifts self-education provides. It breaks the chains of intellectual dependence and gives a person the tools to navigate life with insight and conviction. In a world full of noise, the self-educated mind becomes a voice of reason. In a world full of followers, they stand out as thinkers. And in a world full of confusion, they walk with purpose, clarity, and confidence. That is the mark of someone who not only learns but truly understands. That is the strength of a self-educated mind. And that is why it becomes unstoppable.